Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Know to Grow, a light to heavy duty podcast. I am Chandler Kohn with Focus Investment Banking, an automotive, medium, and heavy duty M&A and capital raising platform in the space. Today, I have on Joe Lewis with NXG Truck Bodies. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, Chandler. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. I am from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and you were in Mount Pleasant, Texas.
I am. Yes, sir.
You're east of Dallas, and I'm in the Charleston area. So good minds think alike there. Tell us a little bit about NXG. It stands for Next Generation. You guys the business was just started recently, and want to hear about a little bit about what you do. And we're going to go into how you've grown the business, and we'll continue to grow the manufacturing operation.
Yeah, thank you, Chandler. So we started manufacturing before my tenure here. Actually started manufacturing in late June of 2025. I joined the business the second week of July 2025, and we are virtually a greenfield startup. So the team and founders built this organization from the ground up, literally. What we're standing in today was a hayfield 18 months ago, and they built the facility and started the business and the brand over the last 18 months to build truck bodies. We're a purpose-driven manufacturing company focused specifically on flat deck truck bodies today, all steel bodies as we sit here in April of 2026.
That is fantastic. And you're on 110,000 square feet, I believe. And
yes, sir.
How many employees do you have?
Today, we've got about 90 employees. We have had to significantly increase employment over the last 30 days due to some increase in demand from the marketplace. So about 30 days ago, we were 65 employees, and we're right at 90. We should cross 100. It feels like, probably third quarter, early fourth quarter of this year.
That's fantastic. Congratulations to you guys. And let's talk about the origin and maybe the gap here in the market. Obviously, you had a problem to solve. NXG is the solution. Truck bodies, have they remained largely unchanged for the past 1 or 2 decades?
Yeah, they have. I would say actually for the last 3 decades, truck bodies have largely remained unchanged. A little bit about it: Next Generation Truck Bodies, or NXG. 2 of our 3 founders actually owned one of the largest manufacturers in the space, CM Truck Bodies. At one point, I was the guy that kind of globalized that business. I worked at CM as the vice president and general manager, mainly focused on the commercial side of the business from 2012 to 2024. And, CM was kind of the pioneer of that business. So Jeff Jackson, one of my partners, actually welded the first CM truck bed. And he's here in this building with me today. So he's out in the shop welding bodies or leading our welding team and manufacturing team. He's also very involved in the product design and the layout of our manufacturing facility. He's actually laid out what we know as NXG today himself. One of my other partners, Ricky Baker, was the founder and owner for 40 years of Big Tex Trailers here in Mount Pleasant, Texas. And then my fourth partner is Steve Courageous. He was actually a president of Big Tex and CM Truck Beds at one time in their careers. And I worked with those guys previously at Big Tex and CM.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about why the truck bed industry has been stuck the past 30 years in terms of innovation and maybe service and really capturing what customers want.
Yeah, so to address that point, I think the market has largely been unchanged, and it's been unchanged because of lack of engineering expertise in the business and probably lack of strategy. I think when you look at many of the truck body manufacturers in the industry today, most truck body manufacturers in the flat deck space are focused on something other than flat decks. So when I was at CM, that business was a part of a larger, more professionalized trailer organization. At one point, it was a $2 billion organization, probably 80 to 85% of that was made up of trailer manufacturing businesses. So that portfolio was real focused in the trailer space. There's other manufacturers out there that are really focused on trailers and not truck bodies. So truck bodies are kind of in the back seat where the front seat is trailers. And therefore, a lot of the truck bodies resemble trailers, which is when you look at the NXG marketing, we talk about next generation. We talk about purpose built. We talk about truck bodies. There's a standard in the industry today that really is a trailer body. And the NXG body is more of an automotive grade design, automotive grade type finishes. I think all of us have industrial finish for the most part, but one feedback we've had in the industry is we do have the most automotive grade looking body out there on the market today. So we're really excited about how our finish has turned out. And that's one of the problems we were trying to fix in the market. So I think the biggest reason of truck bodies, flat decks being really stuck is there just hasn't been a lot of time and attention placed in our space. And, over the last, I've, like I said, been in this business, 13, 14 years now, specifically in the truck bed business. There's just not been a lot of time and attention placed on that, even as new manufacturers come in. There's manufacturers that have come in that are just focused, not just on trailers, but other products that were really their core. So they haven't invested the engineering and design resources into their flat decks. We've been able to do that.
Awesome. And I'm excited to get into this design, engineering, and manufacturing portion of this podcast to really talk about how you guys are next generation and are innovating in this space. What does your design, engineering, and innovation team look like?
Yeah, so we have a team of engineers, one that's been in the trailer and truck body space for many years, one that's been more in the fabrication and design space for several years, and then Jeff Jackson, he's been involved in trailer and truck body and metal fabrication, kind of all three. So his foundation was horse trailers. Him and his father started a large horse trailer manufacturing company in Madill, Oklahoma. He then kind of transitioned into metal fabrication. He's a brilliant fabricator, understands putting pieces together, cutting, bending, and then obviously when it went over to CM Truck Beds, ran that business for many years. And then when he retired from his metal fabrication business, he partnered with Ricky and started NXG.
That's fantastic. So three folks, right, on the team, I believe.
Yeah. Three main contributors. Obviously, from the commercial side, there's myself and a couple guys that, we sponge up customer feedback, and I think that's something that we'll probably get into later in the podcast. But we're real focused on customer feedback and the passion that we have for ensuring that we're feeding the customer what they're hungry for is really what drives NXG and our innovation. And it can be something as simple as the same key on every toolbox latch on a body, and that's important to their customer. Well, we want to figure those things out. I think we really set out to kind of change the overall look and appearance of a truck body, but really there were three problems in the marketplace we had to solve. Powder coat delamination. Powder coat's long been a challenge in the trailer and truck body space. Many of the larger truck body companies have struggled with it immensely. So we really focused on our powder coating process here at NXG. Leaking toolboxes still today is a big issue in the industry. Companies across North America are really struggling with toolboxes that water doesn't pour in, and not just water, but dust intrusion as well. We've solved that with our one-piece weather stripping. And then fuel. Filling a work truck is always a pain for the end user, and we've really solved that in the majority of our bodies here at NXG. So that stuff doesn't just come from great engineers. That comes from good commercial teammates who are out there listening to customers, bringing that information back to engineering and letting them design the solution to the problem that we took from the marketplace.
Let's talk about this delamination process a little bit more. I know on your website you have a 5-step wash process. before I think you apply the coating. Help me understand that a little bit more, and help the audience understand that as well.
Yeah, so in our space, trailers, truck bodies, metal fabrication like this, most companies are using a 2 to 3 stage process. In other words, they're washing it with a corrosive chemical that actually opens up pores. They're rinsing it with a control and maybe treating it with a pre-treat for powder coat or powder primer, and then a powder coat top coat. At NXG, we actually wash our steel with 3 different corrosive materials that open the pores, clean the steel, and prepare it for powder coat. In between those washes, we actually rinse with a control rinse. And before we actually wash that material, we actually DA it with sanders to ensure that the metal is smooth, the pores are prepared for the washes, and that way, when that metal enters the primer booth, that metal is very clean. The standard in the industry, like I said earlier, is 2 to 3 step wash, and it's not just the fact that we wash 5 times. We've tested multiple chemicals out there in the marketplace. We've actually tested bodies. We've tested chemicals on specific bodies to understand what chemicals are causing the powder coat delamination. We've been able to formulate chemical washes that pull those chemicals out, and we feel very confident and have tested that powder coat process that we have to far exceed the standard in today's industry in our space. So we feel like not only do we have 5-stage wash, but we have the right chemicals in that 5-stage wash.
That's fantastic. And let's walk the users through your 110,000 square foot batch manufacturing plant. Help us understand that. What does that look like? What's going on in there?
Yeah, so we have a fabrication facility here in the front of the manufacturing plant. We have plasma cutters, HD plasmas, a big area for raw materials, flat steel, flat tread plate, headache racks, hitches. All the raw materials are staged here on the front side. Then we have 3 separate weld lines. Each weld line is purpose built for a specific model. Everything we do in this facility is very time based. Yeah. As you mentioned a second ago, we have a batch chain, but even in our weld shop, all of our welders are actually on a time schedule. So many bodies per minute or so many bodies per hour is probably a better way to say it, given the model of body. So some bodies have a higher labor content and a higher material content. They may take longer to actually weld than a simple flatbed, for instance. So once those bodies come out of the weld stations, they actually go to what they call a chip and grind or a pre-coating stage where bodies are actually prepared and welds are finished, weld slags removed. They do the DNA to help clean the steel and smooth it out and give us that automotive grade look we're looking for. Then they load that onto our batch powder coat system, which takes it through a wash, powder primer, and then a powder coat top coat. One of the neatest things in our facility that we talk about on social media and our website, at trade shows and through the different channels that we market the business, is we use infrared cure. And our infrared cure allows us to decrease the edge coat delamination that most manufacturers struggle with in their body. And the reason is because we don't have high flow of air through our infrared cure booths, which blows the powder coat off of the edges. The infrared plates bring the temperature to a higher temp faster when a body enters that system. And it's a very controllable temperature. When you have open air convection, or kind of old technology, so to speak, you have a lot of air blowing hot air through there. Well, in the front of a open flame convection booth, it could be 30, 40, 50 degrees different in the back of the booth, depending on where the flames are. With infrared, everything is covered across the board, top, bottom, both sides, front and rear.
That's fantastic. And in terms of the equipment brands you're using, what are those?
That's I think our most important piece is our IFS powder coating. Those guys have been great partners to us. We use HD plasma tables from Messer to cut all of or the majority of our steel. We do have some laser cutting capabilities with some partners here in Mount Pleasant that ship in products to us. But anything that we cut in-house, we cut on HD Messer plasma tables. And, we have a group of partners that help us with the powder coat process. That's most notably IFS. They've done a great job for us.
Awesome. And then in terms of the expansion, you added 23 employees the past 4 weeks, which I have a question around that. Was this to fulfill demand, or are you building capacity to fill expected demand?
No, this is to fulfill demand. We got out ahead of it in January and February. We had forecasted scheduled demand. Fortunately, I would say we went to the NTEA's work truck show, and we had a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback, and brought on many partners who were very excited about the product. They understand how our products can change our organization. And, now we're training, bringing on onboarding, training, bringing on new customers, and training those new employees to ensure that we can fulfill that demand. One of our foundations has been obnoxious lead times, and we still have those on the majority of our products. We do have one model that lead times have expanded some due to unforeseen demand.
Yeah. And then in terms of, I know you have kind of 4 major products on the website. I would think maybe there's some variations there. So is there a number of model count that you have kind of right now?
Yeah, we have 4 models today.
We
have a 5th model that will be launched probably over the next 4 to 6 weeks because of the explosive demand we've had for our products. We've talked as a leadership team, and we're going to really focus on scaling our facility. When you increase employee count by 30-40% in a period of 4 weeks, you've got to be very focused on training employees. We've had very little turnover in this organization. Good. So the good thing is we have a lot of experience, but when you bring this high percentage of new employees in, it's very important that those new employees are trained to the NXG way and the NXG quality standards, and they understand the quality processes that we have in place. So before we continue to launch more models, we certainly want to try to stabilize the growth that we have with the current models that we have on the market today.
Okay. And then how did you go about developing the training program? This is something that we, talk about a decent amount, particularly at the shop level in the heavy duty space or the medium duty space. Well, you obviously have to have a template. You have to have something to talk about for a couple hours at a time. What does that training development look like for you guys?
Well, we do it a couple different ways. If it's weld training, we have outside consultants that come in. Anybody who's been in the organization on our weld lines for over 90 days is certified. NXG Truck Bodies is an MVP certified manufacturer by the NTEA. So you have a group of choices that you can use for accreditation or certification, and we chose to certify our welders. We thought that was the biggest, most important part of having good quality welds is certifying them. Taking those welders through that certification process and the training and the testing that goes into that simply makes our welders better and more certified, more capable of welding in high velocity environments like we do. From the powder coat standpoint, we also have outside consultancy that comes in and trains our wash crews, our primer crews, and our top coat crews regularly to ensure that we're getting correct coverage. We know how to check for coverage, and then that we're getting the right thickness, and that's super important. And I'll note this leadership team has nearly 150 years of manufacturing experience. A lot of what we do, we already know. The neat thing about the NXG team is we've spent millions making these mistakes in the past. We know what not to do, unfortunately, for all the right reasons. So,
that's what the customer wants to hear.
That's correct. We've made those mistakes, and our team understands the mistakes that many of our competitors and sometimes ourselves make. Our team's making mistakes out there in the shop today. It's our job as a leadership team to go out there, hold those employees accountable, and train them how not to make that mistake again, or what to do different so that the mistake doesn't happen.
hmm And one of the most important roles, at this size company, in my opinion, and what I see in the heavy duty space or medium duty for that matter, is having a good GMs or good middle management,
Hmm.
because you can't watch 90 people at one time. So
You can.
tell us about a little bit about what that middle management looks like for you, if you have middle management.
Certainly. Yeah, we have middle management throughout our facility. All of our middle management came with prior manufacturing experience. Several of those middle managers we're very familiar with. We didn't hire them from one company. We very strategically tried to find those guys at different organizations here and around Titus County. Our operations manager out in the manufacturing shop came from a large truck body manufacturer, years of experience from when he was just starting his career. And then we've got a couple guys out there that have a lot of experience in metalworking in our fabrication side. And then down on our our coating and our trim line, those guys come from other manufacturing companies with coating and trim experience.
Yep.
So they understand the quality standards that we're putting in place, how to enforce those, and how to train those employees that are doing that. So if it comes down to decals being straight, the little things that make a difference, toolbox doors sealing correctly, toolbox weather stripping being applied correctly, those guys understand that, and they're able to coach and train our teammates how to do it correctly and enforce it each and every day.
Yep. And let's get into this culture question. I always ask this when there's a decent sized team, but quality and integrity of the work is of utmost importance, right? But when it comes to building a holistic culture, doing the right thing when somebody's not looking, or being trustworthy, right? How do you develop a culture? What are you focused on? Sometimes you can't really force it. It's all about making the right hire and letting the kind of culture go where it's going to go. But how do you steer it in the right direction?
We're very involved.
Yep.
I think we have a great culture here. It's not rare for me to be in a Walmart on the weekend with my kids. Just happened Saturday. Me and two of the girls were at Walmart, and a wife of an employee came up and said how great it was for her husband to work at NXG, how much
That's
he
awesome.
bragged about it, how much he loved the environment and the culture here. We're out there in the facility weekly doing Employee of the Month, birthday celebrations. I think National Popcorn Day is right here in the next couple of days. We'll have a popcorn party. We do a lot of engagement with our employees. If there's a new teammate orientation, HR always invites us out to step into that orientation through that 4-hour process. And we do. We go out and introduce ourselves, and we try to get to know our employees and understand their challenges and the issues they're dealing with, whether it be a death in the family or moving into a new apartment or buying a new car. We want to be involved in that and helping to make the transition of a lot of our employees much easier, because we have a wide range of ages and obviously men and women and different backgrounds out there.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
needs are going to be far different. But, I think our leadership team here is very invested in that and working hard to ensure that when we do see employees in Walmart, they are excited to see us and they understand that we do have their best interest at heart.
Great, great. And one of my colleagues, Stan Goesnock, he was the CEO of Cardone Industries,
Okay.
6,000 people, and he told me that he used to go out and walk the floor, right, and just
Yeah.
talk to people and get to know them. Obviously, that
Certainly.
took time away from what he was doing at the CEO level. However, he developed a cohesive culture there. So interesting to hear that feedback. And that makes a lot of sense, particularly kind of in a smaller East Texas town where you are going to run into your people outside of work. And, hopefully they stay with you for a long time and you can kind of build that trust with them. It's really,
Yeah, and thus far they have.
Yeah.
We've had very little turnover. This time of year, you got to be careful to talk about how good your turnover is when you're in a manufacturing community like we are, with a number of other manufacturers in town. When you have exploded demand, you start paying more short term, and then you get to July, August, and you start laying people off, and that's a very
Yeah.
common cycle in a city like we live in. And we've tried to really navigate that much differently. Hey, we're going to pay you a fair wage. We're going to treat you right. We're going to give you an awesome environment. And if you follow our company online, you see we talk about the customer experience and what it's like to be a customer of NXG. Well, we jump that fence and have the employee experience and what it's like to be an employee of NXG, and why that is such a good experience, not only for you, but for your family. Last Friday was Good Friday. We're working 5 days a week right now. Well, we only worked a half day last Friday because we understand that's important to our employees. And we did that strategically.
Yeah. Smart. And I like that. Let's go back and talk about how you actually spun up the operation. Manufacturing is capital intensive. My understanding is, you bootstrapped it versus seeking outside capital. How do you think about bootstrapping and starting this up from a risk standpoint?
Well, our business is naturally well capitalized. We've got good partners, and we have a good financial partner that's on board with us. That's just something from experience. We've done it several different ways over the years, and we thought this would be the best way for us to do it. So all of our funding's local, and it seemed for us to get this organization off the ground the way we did. It made more sense for us, given the strategy that the founders had when they put this business plan together. So I think it just comes from more experience than anything, and what made more sense, both short and long term for the business, and not only where we are today, but where we're probably going to end up going over the next 5 to 10 years.
Good. And, we'll segue into product strategy here in a minute and what that vision looks like. But when you were setting up the operation, did you avoid spending where others may have initially?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question, but you always avoid spending where others make mistakes because you've been there before and made those mistakes. Without getting too deep into some proprietary information, I would say at a high level, we avoided spending too much money on fabrication in-house. And we went out and found good fabrication partners for us that already had the equipment, that had some extra capacity that could really help us. The neat thing about those fabrication partners is they're all located right here in Mount Pleasant, Texas. So our supply chain is very strong.
Yeah. Good. And product strategy. So you've launched with 4 core models.
Yes, sir.
Why 4? Maybe why not 3? Why not 5? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, good question. So we've been in this business so long and understand the flatbed industry, vertical, whatever you want to call it, so well. We know where the volumes are. We understand what percentage of our sales will come from what models. The 4 models that we've already launched are very fluid, very linear, and introducing them in the manner that we have virtually allows us to make subtle changes versus going extreme from one model to the other. So it allows our quality to maintain itself. It allows us to train our employees at the right time, and it kind of gives us the right revenue at the right time for the business and the life cycle of the business at that point.
That makes sense. And then in terms of standardization versus customization of each model, is there any room for customization per each client's use case?
To an extent, if the volume justifies it, we'll do some custom stuff. I was out in the facility yesterday and saw a pretty nice sized custom order. And somebody said, I thought we weren't doing custom. Well, we're not, but for the right customer with the right amount of volume. And if somebody orders 200 bodies from you and they need some customization where it makes sense, you can do it. Now, you'd rather do it in September, October, November, but to bring in some of those high velocity, high volume customers, like this specific customer, it made a lot of sense for us to make some modest changes. I would say our strategy has been manufacturing flow, not customization. But depending on the size of the order and the repeatability of the customization, we want to look at everything. Again, our foundation is built for the customer and customer experience. Well, if you want a customer to enjoy your product more, you probably want to build it to their needs. And, we'll listen to any and everything. And if we can't build it or don't have the appetite to build it, we're pretty transparent with our customers.
That's good. And then in terms of flow actual through the production facility after it's designed and engineered, how long does it take for the truck bed to come together?
Yeah, so from weld to actual completion in our facility, we can get one through our facility in under 5 hours. We build one body about every 25 to 27 minutes right now. A month ago it was 40 minutes. In a month it'll be 22, 23 minutes. So as our new employees are trained and onboarded, and we onboard a few more over the next couple of weeks, that number will come down into the low 20s. I would figure in a year we'll probably be just south of 20 minutes a body. That we clear a body every 20 minutes, and that 5 hours will come down to slightly over 4 from start of weld to completion.
And KPIs can be a really big thing in manufacturing. Are you guys tracking anything specifically? Maybe what are your top 2 or 3 that you're really looking at?
Number one thing we track is safety.
Yeah.
Because we think that is very important for our team. We're at 206 days without a recordable right now. We've only had 1 recordable since we opened this business. And I think that's the most important metric that we can track, because if our employees can't leave our facility every day safe, that's a problem. It doesn't matter how much money you make or how many bodies you manufacture. If your employees can't look at your organization and say they're focused on me, then you're probably not going to have good culture. You're going to have bad quality. Your labor rates are going to go up. And that's a recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, as I've mentioned several times through our conversation, we've experienced that for all the wrong reasons. So that's one thing that we're super focused on as a leadership team here. Some other metrics, obviously, labor per body is very important, overhead per body. Time of manufacturing, we measure that every day through our manufacturing facility. And then from a quality standpoint, our quality roadmap is laid out where we measure and manage defects. So that's a very, defects per 100 is something that is, we've got to look at and manage and measure those as we go forward. So part of that training we talked about a few minutes ago is, okay, we had this issue happen this many times. This is not an acceptable rate. What are we doing to fix it? Whether it be new powder coat wands, or our welders are turned up too high, or toolbox doors are coming loose. We manage that stuff to ensure that, hey, we are continuously improving through our manufacturing facility.
That's fantastic. And let's jump into the go-to-market side of things. Who was your first customer, and how did you land those folks? I wouldn't want to divulge our first customer at this point, but I would tell you the way we've landed all of our customers is honest, transparent conversations. And, I've personally driven North America a lot the last 4 months, showing our bodies and telling our stories. And, I think when, it's kind of interesting. We launched this product, and any new product that comes to market, human nature is to talk about everything that's wrong with it. And, we live that life cycle for 90 days. Everywhere I went, everywhere our team went, everybody we called, because we know a lot of people in this industry. Everybody wants to look at the body and say, that doesn't look good. That's not going to work. That's terrible. And over the last 90 to 120 days, as more people have been able to see our products in person, they have come to understand our semi-gloss powder coat, which doesn't magnify weld marks on a body, looks more automotive. But the paradigm in this business is, let's go shiny. That's great. That's easy. The reality of it is, chemically and scientifically, semi-gloss actually performs better than high gloss. It's got a slower fade rate. It doesn't magnify weld marks and blemishes in the steel.
It's got a lot of value. Some other things, our lights were very well known in the industry for the X light. It's the only automotive industry in the business today. We're very proud of that. We don't use trailer lights. We're not building a standard truck bed. So, customers look at the X light. Well, they don't like it, not because it's a bad light, just because it's something to say no to our commercial team. So I think going out and educating, from the go-to-market strategy you were asking about, going out and educating potential distributors and auto dealers. We don't sell to auto dealers. We sell to distributors who sell to auto dealers. But we've kind of done a different strategy there by educating those auto dealers to pull business back through potential upfitters, and going out and educating upfitters and their customers or auto dealerships has really helped us, because now a customer's gone from saying a hard no to how can I live without it? And in some cases, they're embarrassed not to buy it. And that's been very fulfilling for us, especially since probably December. That's been a very fulfilling and satisfying experience that our entire commercial team's had.
Good. And is the distribution network currently able to get the product all around the country?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we will ship into all 48 states. We've shipped into somewhere between 27 and 30 states thus far.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then in terms of sales cycle, obviously when folks are ready to pull the trigger, they're ready to pull the trigger, but how long does it usually take, right, to once you start talking with that customer to land that customer and begin production for them?
Well, that's an interesting question, because that cycle has changed a lot over the last 30 days. Since Work Truck Show, so many customers were able to get out and see our product. We've probably really shifted from calling out to educate customers to incoming calls that allow us to educate customers. I would say, 6 months ago, that process was probably 30 to 45 days. Today, in some cases, literally, I saw one this morning come through that we've never talked to. But somebody saw that product at Work Truck Show and they said, we're using a standard body today. We're tired of that experience. We saw what we can experience. And, quite honestly, we called one of your distributors who's been with you for 4 months, and they've used standard bodies for a long time. And they said, honestly, this is where the market's going to be in 5 years. So, that time frame and that cycle has come down significantly as our business has continued to grow. And one thing that's important to point out, 5 months ago, we had 2 models. Today we have 4. So we're covering a larger breadth of the commercial and fleet business. And because of that, we're starting to see more of those larger fleets come in our direction, who, like this distributor this morning, is just tired of the standard bodies in the industry. They're tired of rust. They're tired of a bunch of caulk. They're tired of trailer lights. Their users, their employees, their customers are tired of leaking toolboxes.
Yeah.
And they've been able to see some of the neat, innovative things we've done on social media. There's a video we put out here a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of funny. I sent it to our marketing guy. Me and my daughter did it in the driveway one afternoon. We took a body and just put a pressure washer on every toolbox and opened the doors on all 4 of them. I sent that to him. I said, this is where my mind's at. I've always been a very aggressive marketer, but I think as customers have started to see some of these marketing things that we've done that really show our product, we don't have to bash another product. That's not our strategy. As a matter of fact, our strategy is not to bash anybody else. Our strategy is just to tell our story. Our story is good enough and our products are good enough that they answer so many problems that customers are facing today, they'll sell themselves.
Yep. I totally agree with that. And that's a great way to approach it for any operator in the automotive space, really any space. Segueing into, closing out the podcast, where do you see NXG in the next 3 years in terms of product count, employee count, location, that type of thing?
Product count, I suspect we'll have 12 to 14 models.
Okay.
We'll build 12 to 14 in-house. There's some opportunity for some outsourcing of a few models. I think anybody that knows me well and has been around me for a long time knows I'm not opposed to that. After all, that's how I entered the service body business. We did an outsourcing contract with a company and ended up buying them years ago, and that worked very well for us to get into the service body business. It's a faster way to market, and if we can market that product the way we market, as long as the product's good and the partner allows us to make some changes that fit the customer we're serving, we feel we can sell anybody's product if we have a little opportunity to make it our way. So, 12 to 14 models, maybe 16 models. We are about to double the facility here with a new campus that will actually bolt on to our current campus. So that will double our acreage footprint, or almost double our acreage footprint. It will give us another manufacturing facility for aluminum products. Really excited about the aluminum products coming out. Obviously, because of the success I've had in the service body space in the past, probably an opportunity for some service bodies here in the midterm, just depending on where that market's at. We do a lot of analysis of the market and really try to understand what trends are going on in the macroeconomic space of commercial truck equipment, and we'll launch those models depending on that. I think the aluminum body vertical is real hungry for some next generation product right now, some stuff that's a lot more automotive grade than what's out there in the space today. And I feel like we can really fulfill some of those appetites out there. So, over the next 3 years, we'll expand, obviously, model count. We've got to expand revenue and throughput in this manufacturing facility. And I think we'll be we won't be the largest flatbed manufacturer in the next 3 years, but we'll certainly be a much further up the ladder than we are today. Today we're probably, in North America, we're probably, 12th. I would suspect in 3 years we can be in the top 5 without a problem.
That's great. And just real quick on that market analysis piece, there's tons of reports you can buy that are expensive. But how are you guys going about it? Is it mainly talking to folks, hearing what customers want? Is it paying for expensive reports? What does that look like?
Well, a variety. We do it all. We've done this so long. We are very proud to be a member of the NTEA. We utilize some of the stuff they offer through Work Truck Cert and S&P. Those guys have just started a great partnership with Work Truck Cert, and there's some good data there. There's also what's going on in the macro truck space. Truck equipment is very dependent on truck sales. The NTA puts that in NTA News every month, so that's pretty easy to get. We can also buy some stuff directly through S&P, which we've done in the past, and have started to do here at NXG. So we can manage and measure markets across the country broken down by BTAs or DMAs across North America, and understand the different classes of trucks. And we understand what bodies fit those classes very well. And then there's a fleet cycle, understanding the fleet cycle. So we're able to get feedback from, economists, customers, and then data. And we take the combination of the three and put those together. And we've got a lot of experience doing that. We've done that for years.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I appreciate you answering that question. And let's wrap up. If you had one piece of advice to give to somebody looking to scale or maybe even start a manufacturing or remanufacturing operation, what is that one piece of advice around growth and scalability?
Well, I've never had a shortage of words. I don't know if I can give you one piece of advice, but if there was just one piece of advice, I would say that the most interesting, most valuable thing we've done here is had a strategy and worked it. Has our strategy changed? Certainly, yes. Things are a lot different than they were 90 days ago when we did the budget. I just looked at our finance director and said, we need to forecast the business. And it's like, I know we just did the budget, but we need to reforecast the business. The world's different. The market has seen our product. The market has really seen our marketing, and people are liking what they're seeing. our business is different. We didn't plan to hire the number of employees we've hired over the last 30 days, 90 days ago, but we've responded fast, and we've almost doubled production in the last 30 days. So in all of that, we still have been able to follow our strategy, which is to build great products, offer a safe workplace, give customers the best experience they can have out there in the marketplace, be, very transparent by offering transparent order updates, immediate order confirmations, immediate invoices. Some of the things that companies really want to do, but they don't know how to do, we're already doing in our first year. So I would say develop a good strategy. Think about everything you can think of, map it out, and work it. It's going to change. The climate's going to change. It's a cycle of some kind, but work the strategy. And if you do that, chances of being successful are probably going to be in your favor.
That's sage advice. Joe Lewis, NSG Truck Bodies, thank you so much for joining today. Really appreciate you hopping on the podcast. And
appreciate
look forward
you
to staying
having
in
me.
touch. Of course.
Yeah, please do. Looking forward to it.
And maybe I'll have you on it again in 3 years and see where you are and what worked and maybe what didn't and circle back up and go from there.
Yeah, that would be great. Good luck to you and your business, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot.